Welcome to the Best 5, where we look at the most shocking and fascinating stories of all time. Our focus today is on 5 extreme punishments that were used in different cultures in ancient times. We examine these punishments in detail and explain how they reflect the values, beliefs, and legal systems of the time. If you're interested in the darker side of human history or want to know about the most extreme forms of justice that have been used, the Best 5 channels are for you. Join us as we unpack these stories from the past and challenge your notions of justice. Thank you for liking the video and comment and subscribe.
Number 5. Welcome to a chilling tale from the annals of history. A story that will send shivers down your spine. Imagine being a prisoner in medieval London, facing a fate worse than death itself, the Rat Dungeon. Located deep within the heart of the Tower of London, the Rat Dungeon was a place of unspeakable horror. It was a cell situated below the waterline of the River Thames, a place where the tides brought not just the rising waters, but also the rats. As the tide rose, the rats were drawn into the dungeon, their scurrying feet echoing through the darkness. For the prisoners, it was a living nightmare, a torment that paralyzed even the bravest souls. Shackled and chained, the prisoner was left in complete darkness, unable to see the rats that crept closer. All he could hear were the soft whispers of their tiny claws on stone, growing louder and more numerous with each passing minute. The rats would bite, taking small pieces of flesh, and the prisoner would struggle, trying to fend them off. But exhaustion would eventually overtake him, and in his sleep, the rats would continue their gruesome feast. Upon awakening, the prisoner would find himself covered in bite marks, a grim testament to the rats' relentless assault. This was not just a punishment, it was a slow, agonizing death sentence. Over time, the Rat Dungeon became a symbol of the cruelty of the medieval justice system. Prisoners were left there for days, weeks, or even longer, their bodies ravaged by the rats, their minds broken by the terror. By the end of the medieval period, the Rat Dungeon had evolved into a form of execution, where prisoners were simply thrown into the dungeon and left to their fate. It was a punishment so brutal that it haunted the very soul of the Tower of London. And so the Rat Dungeon stands as a stark reminder of the depths to which humanity can sink, a tale that serves as a warning against the loss of our humanity, even in the face of tyranny. Number 4. The rack and the suppression of faith in medieval England. In the darkest corners of history, the London Tower stood as a symbol of fear and oppression. One of its most infamous instruments of torture was the rack, a device designed to break the spirit and extract confessions. The rack resembled a large ladder, but instead of secure steps, the rungs rotated like a rolling pin. When a prisoner was subjected to this horrific ordeal, their feet and wrists were tied to a ratchet pulley system. 2 legal officials would then slowly tighten the ropes, locking them in place and placing an increasing amount of strain on the prisoner's body. This cruel method was primarily used to obtain confessions from criminals, slaves, or prisoners of war. However, the truth was often not what the authorities sought. Instead, prisoners would sometimes confess to anything to end the torment, only to face further torture if their lies were discovered. In 1447, a tragic example of this occurred in England. A 25-year-old woman named Agnes Smith was tortured on the rack for hours, leaving her completely paralyzed. Her crime? She had read and memorized scriptures from the Bible, which she shared privately with a group of women. Refusing to name these women during her torture, Agnes was then carried in a chair and burned alive at the stake. During this era, anyone who dared to follow a faith other than the Catholic Church faced severe consequences. Silence was not an option. Even speaking to one's own husband could lead to betrayal and execution. As we reflect on these grim chapters of our past, let us remember the importance of freedom of thought and the right to practice one's religion without fear. History serves as a stark reminder of the lengths to which people will go to suppress dissent and maintain control. Number 3. In the harsh world of the sea, discipline was maintained through fear. One such punishment, known as keelhauling, was a chilling spectacle that served as both a deterrent and a gruesome execution method. It was a practice that left a lasting mark on maritime history, a testament to the brutality of the age. Imagine a sailor accused of theft or violence, bound and helpless. His fate was sealed with a rope, which was looped around the ship's circumference and secured to his feet. With a cruel twist of fate, he was cast into the ocean, his life hanging in the balance. As the sailor struggled against the waves, a group of men on board began to pull on the rope. They dragged him around the ship over the treacherous keel where sharp barnacles awaited to tear flesh and bone. The severity of the punishment varied. Some sailors succumbed to the elements, drowning before reaching the keel. Others faced a slow, agonizing death, their bodies ravaged by the relentless barnacles and the unforgiving sea. But if, by some miracle, the sailor survived the ordeal, his fate was still uncertain. He might be subjected to another round of punishment, ensuring his demise. Alternatively, he could be freed back onto the ship, only to suffer a slow and painful death from infections. Or perhaps he would live, forever marked by the scars of his experience, a living reminder of the harsh justice of the sea. Keelhauling was not just a punishment, it was a statement of power and control. It was a grim reminder of the lengths to which sailors would go to maintain order aboard ship, a practice that echoes through history, leaving a legacy of fear and respect. And so the tale of keelhauling serves as a stark lesson in the past, a reminder of the human capacity for cruelty and the resilience of those who endured it. It is a story that, despite its darkness, offers a glimpse into the complex world of maritime. Number 2. In the heart of ancient India, a form of capital punishment known as johar sentenced criminals to a gruesome end. This method, involving the crushing of the condemned beneath an elephant, was a chilling spectacle that echoed through the ages. Crimes such as tax evasion, theft, or treason against the state were met with this horrifying sentence. The fourth Mughal emperor of India, known for his eccentric tastes, once ordered the execution of numerous criminals in a single day, seemingly out of boredom. The victims included a man who forgot to pay his taxes, a thief caught stealing an apple, and even a man who murdered his neighbor. Their lives ended in a macabre display of power, as the ruler reveled in the spectacle of controlling an elephant. There were several methods of execution. The preferred method involved tying the victim's arms behind their back and placing their head on a pedestal, where it would be crushed by the elephant's foot. Another method was to lay the victim flat on the ground, with the elephant walking over their body, hoping to cause immediate death. The most cruel method saw the elephant slowly crushing the victim's limbs before delivering the final blow to the head or torso. This theatrical execution was favored by rulers like the fourth Mughal, who derived pleasure from the spectacle. As we reflect on these dark chapters of history, let us honor the memory of those who suffered and remind ourselves of the importance of justice and human rights. The legacy of such practices serves as a stark reminder of the lengths to which societies can descend when basic human dignity is ignored. Number 1. In the harsh landscape of 17th century Egypt, a grim spectacle awaited criminals convicted of grave robbery, highway robbery, or rebellion. The punishment was known as spiking, a method of public execution that served as a chilling deterrent to lawbreakers. The procedure began with the criminal laid flat on their back, arms tied behind them. A razor was used to slice open the back, enlarging the opening to accommodate a long wooden stake, the width of a man's arm, sharply tapered at one end. After the initial incision, the wound was covered with paste to staunch the bleeding. The stake, greased for ease of insertion, was then driven into the victim's body, pushed deeper with each strike of the mallet. Once the stake emerged from the victim's shoulder, head, or mouth, the life was effectively extinguished. The victim was then displayed on a busy road, serving as a grim warning to all who passed. Left there for the day, the body was removed the following morning before decomposition set in. There was also a variation of this punishment, where the stake was only driven deep enough to immobilize the victim without causing immediate death. In this version, stakes with seat positions were used to hold the victim in place. Placed on a busy road, the victim would endure hours of suffering, pleading for help until eventual death.
Thanks for watching our video on Best 5. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to hit the like button and leave a comment. See you in the next video.